Welcome to Vanfluence. In this series, I'll share a beginner's perspective on how to plan for and execute on an adventure vehicle project. I'm no expert, but I can certainly share what I've learned to this point to help anyone just starting out to give their project some wheels to move, literally and figuratively. While I can't guide you in the actual build, I can certainly try to help you think of how to get to that point, and all before you start spending. So get your notebook out and follow along with this easy series. There are so many options to choose for an adventure van or bus. Swivel seats, full wet bath, overhead storage, roof rack with awning, elevator bed. It's one thing to see all the features from completed versions. It's another to choose the ones you really want. How do you communicate that with the builder? Or, if you're the one building, how do you design an accurate blueprint to follow? The good news is that you don't need to be an architect or graphic designer to create your layout. You just need some imagination and a little bit of time. If you can picture it, then it's as simple as putting it down somewhere to look at and refer to. This could come in a few different forms. The great part is that none of them will cost anything except a little time and patience. Start by listing all the amenities and features you want in your adventure vehicle. There will, of course, be accessories, but it breaks down into a few categories, which will then have a few subcategories. The main categories are exterior, which would include things like roof rack, awning, etc. And the other main category would be the interior, which is everything else. Start off by relegating a sheet of paper for each of the categories so you can create some lists. On the interior sheet, make subcategories for seating, sleeping, kitchen, storage, and bathroom. Under each heading, list as many items as you can that pertain to each category. Do the same for the exterior sheet until you have everything you can think of written down. Remember, this can be done on paper or in a digital document or spreadsheet. Now for the actual layout. Again, you could do this by hand or by clicking. Let's start with the simplest approach, sketching your layout on a piece of paper. With this method, you can visualize the spatial arrangement of your chosen features and get a rough idea of how everything will fit within the vehicle's dimensions. It may not be the most precise method, but it's a great starting point for your design. In your sketch, make sure everything is labeled accordingly. It's a good idea to create multiple angles in your sketch, like overhead, from the passenger side, from the rear, to understand the spatial relationships. This 360-degree perspective will help you ensure that your layout optimizes space, accessibility, and functionality. Be sure to include the lengths and widths of the space, as well as every item you put into it. It won't be to scale, but if you use a ruler, you might get the proportions close. If you're spreadsheet savvy, you can use a computer to create a layout with precise measurements in cells. This method allows for meticulous planning, ensuring every element fits. Using colors to create shapes and spaces, a spreadsheet can turn into a blueprint simply by determining a unit of measurement and proceeding. For example, if considering each cell as 1 inch, all object placement can be made close to scale. For a more professional touch, consider hiring a designer to craft your layout, ensuring accuracy. Designers bring expertise and experience to the table, helping you create a layout that not only looks great, but is also functional and practical. They can translate your ideas into a professional blueprint for builders to follow. Not only will measurements be more accurate, but you'll literally and figuratively get a better picture of the choices you're making. If you're digitally inclined, you can design your layout in software like Adobe or 3D applications such as AutoCAD. These tools offer advanced capabilities for creating detailed and realistic layouts. 3D applications in particular provide a visual representation of how your adventure vehicle will appear when completed. But of course, I did say that none of these methods would cost you anything, which brings me to the method I've personally used. VanSpace 3D simplifies the design process, allowing for a drag-and-drop experience. With its massive library of vehicle layouts and furniture, you can experiment with different configurations, easily moving elements around until you find the perfect setup. You can choose colors, patterns, and even stage things like objects and decor. This is a practical solution for those who prefer a user-friendly, interactive design experience. Programs like Vanspace 3D also allow you to render out images, videos, and animations to further illustrate your vision. These are helpful when and if you're trying to communicate the design to others like family or professionals that might be doing some work for you. Alternatively, if you're a hands-on builder, you might keep the layout in your head and take measurements as you progress with the conversion. This approach can be more flexible, allowing you to make on-the-fly adjustments as you work on your adventure vehicle. However, it also requires a good understanding of spatial relationships and measurements. It would be a shame to go back and forth between measuring and cutting, only to find that you missed something critical, or to have forgotten a needed step that came before installing something. Once you have your layout, seek constructive feedback from someone before you start building. A fresh set of eyes can identify potential issues or suggest improvements you may have overlooked. This feedback can be invaluable in refining your design before you invest time and resources in the construction phase. Because Vanspace is the best combination of all the options described, let's walk through a sample design so you can see just how easy it is to build a layout. This video is not sponsored by Vanspace, but in the interest of learning, this is a great way to look at a quick and cost-free example of building your layout. You'll need a Windows or Mac computer, but the only other thing you'll need is some patience and imagination. Now, this isn't a full tutorial, but I'd like to take the next 60 seconds to teach you how easy it is to use Vanspace. First, choose your vehicle type from the van library. There's a lot to choose from, but if you know your van model, you could type it in to search for it, or choose a van type to start your design. Every design starts with an empty van, so the first thing I like to do is turn on and off the features that I want to see, such as the bulkhead. Next, I'll change the inside wood design to a neutral gray so I can start designing with a little bit more contrast. Then, I'll use the library on the side to start choosing objects and furniture to start placing in my design to see how they fit and start tweaking them to my liking. The nice thing about drag and drop is you can bring things in, rotate them, move them, and see if they fit, and if you don't like them, just delete them. Lastly, I like to work on colors, finishes, and accessories to finish out my design. Regardless of your chosen method, it's crucial to understand the work involved in each step of the process. Whether you're designing your layout on paper, using digital tools, or relying on a professional designer, knowing the intricacies of the layout design process will help you make informed decisions and avoid costly mistakes. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon to stay up to date on the latest episodes.